Global markets are cautiously optimistic as we kick off the second half of 2025. Stronger factory data out of Asia and a seismic US budget bill are stirring bullish bets. Geopolitics, protests, and policy rifts are keeping risk on the table. Here's today's zoom out for July 1, 2025, where I help you see the bigger picture. China's private sector manufacturing PMI for June surprised to the upside, coming in at 50.4 according to S&P Global. That's above the critical 50 mark that signals expansion and well above the government's official reading of 49.7. The stronger reading is being credited to renewed government-led infrastructure projects and a recovery in domestic orders that lifted overall factory output. Markets across Asia wasted no time in reacting. Stocks rallied broadly, with commodity linked economies benefiting the most. Copper and iron ore prices climbed sharply, and global shipping indexes showed gains, an early sign that trade flows may be recovering. Even Chinese tech stocks posted gains as investor confidence in a broader recovery began to take hold. So, what's your zoom out takeaway? China's factories set the reading for global trade. A rebound in the world's workshop means improved demand for raw materials, semiconductors, and logistics infrastructure. The US passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, driven by a tie breaking vote from Vice President J.D. Vance, represents a significant move to advance a Republican agenda focused on tax cuts, welfare reform, and increased border security. The bill includes provisions such as locking in Trump era tax cuts, introducing tax breaks on tips and overtime, and implementing work requirements for social safety nets like Medicaid and SNAP. It also addresses the debt ceiling and significantly boosts funding for border enforcement measures. However, the bill has sparked considerable debate, with projected increases in federal deficits and widespread public opposition highlighting the differing perspective on its potential social and fiscal consequences. The long term implication of these policies, particularly concerning the national debt and the impact on public health, remain a subject of debate. Markets welcomed the tax stability, but healthcare providers, clean energy advocates, and progressive economists warn of severe social and fiscal costs. So, what's your zoom out takeaway? This bill isn't about just numbers. It's a declaration of national priorities. It trades social protections and climate incentives for tax relief and enforcement spending. While markets may enjoy the short term certainty, the long term costs from fiscal strain to public health fallouts are harder to price in. OPEC Plus sources indicated last week that the group plans to increase output by more than 400,000 barrels per day in August. That decision is expected to be finalized at their upcoming meeting on the 6th of July. Oil prices hedged higher today. Brent crude settled at $67.11 a barrel, up 0.6%, while WTI settled at $65.45 a barrel, up around 0.5%. Positive demand indicators, including a survey showing expansion in China's factory activity in June, contributed to the slight price increase. Expectations of Saudi Arabia raising its August crude oil prices for Asian buyers also played a role. The market's gains were limited by expectations of the OPEC Plus output hike and concerns about US tariff policy impacting global growth. Morgan Stanley anticipates Brent crude to fall to around $60 per barrel by early next year due to a well supplied market and easing geopolitical risks. So, what's your zoom out takeaway? The oil market is indeed influenced by the interplay between supply decisions by OPEC Plus and global demand, which is affected by factors like trade tensions. Now, while OPEC Plus is aiming to reassert market control through increased production, the actual impact on prices will depend on the strength of global demand. Today's slight price increase reflects a balancing act between positive demand side signals and the upcoming OPEC Plus output decision. Europe is in the grip of a historic heat wave, with temperatures reaching 46 degrees Celsius in Spain and parts of southern France. In Germany, national records for early July are already being challenged, and meteorologists confirmed that England saw the hottest June day since 1884. Public services are straining to cope. France has already closed over 1,300 schools. Italy has suspended outdoor labor in over a dozen regions, and emergency services across the continent are stretched thin. Elderly populations and vulnerable residents are crowding into public cooling centers and so called climate shelters. The heat wave is clearly linked to global warming, which is increasing the frequency and intensity of such events, and Europe is the fastest warming continent. So, what's your zoom out takeaway? This isn't just an uncomfortable summer, it's a preview of the climate stress ahead. Current weather highlights the vulnerability of European infrastructure, healthcare systems, and workforce to climate change, and the need for adaptation and resilience. US officials today confirmed that Iran has loaded naval mines onto vessels in the Persian Gulf, raising fears that it could disrupt shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, through which one-fifth of the world's oil passes. The move follows last week's Israeli drone strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, which Tehran has vowed to respond to. While no incident has occurred yet, oil insurers are already pricing in higher risk premiums, and naval patrols have increased across the region. So, what's your zoom out takeaway? Even the suggestion of disruption in the Strait of Hormuz sends tremors through energy markets. Iran's latest moves may not be an act of war, but they are a sharp reminder that the global economy still depends on a few fragile choke points like this one. So the bottom line is this: from Washington's policy pivot to China's production rebound, and from rising oil supply to rising temperatures, today's headlines tell a story of powerful forces pulling markets in different directions. Adding maritime threats and legislative resets, and the second half of 2025 is already off to a dramatic start. When the world zooms in on the noise, I zoom out to help you see the bigger picture. Which of today's stories do you think will have the longest ripple effect? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. My name remains Eniola Lunge, and I'll see you tomorrow.